let's go ahead and talk about what to do if you are injured while you're on the job. We're going to talk about this while we wait for some callers to call in.
Yeah. So if you're injured on the job, it's different than being injured in any other way. Typically, if you're injured, whether it be a car accident or premises liability or some other fashion, the rules we follow are the rules of common law. What have judges done in the past? But if you're injured on the job, it's statutory. It's codified law in Montgomery through the legislature. So there's some extra requirements there that you have to comply with. The main one being is that you have 5 days to let your supervisor know you've been injured. You say, well, if you're injured on the job, ambulance comes, yeah, there's going to be some constructive notice there to your employer that you were injured. But lots of people who suffer back injuries or carpal tunnel type injuries or other injuries that don't require an ambulance to show up at your job, just remember you have a 5-day notice requirement that you've got to provide some notice to your employer. The statute says it has to be in writing, but the courts have held oral notice will suffice. So, just be sure that you advise your supervisor, preferably in writing, that you were injured and how that happened.
I want to remind folks, of course, also to go ahead and call us if you haven't already. The number, of course, 256-533-0077. Think about it for a moment there. We actually have a call right now.
Yeah, we do. We have Angela. Good morning to you, Angela.
Yes, thank you for my call.
Of course. What is your question?
I want to know my rights. My dad passed away last year, and the house belongs to 4 kids. My mother allowed my brothers to move in this house. I've got this wrote down. I told my brother, since it belongs to 4 of us, he needs to pay us rent. He went to my mother, and I've been told she took me off the will. What can she do that, and what are my rights?
Yeah, so that's something you'll certainly want to consult with a lawyer who specializes in estates with. But essentially, your mother wouldn't be able to disinherit you from your father's will. She could disinherit you from her own will. And so there's some questions there of, whether or not the property was given to the spouse. That's typically how that would occur with upon the death of the spouse to go to the children, or sometimes it goes to the children and gives the spouse a life estate. And then there's other things you can do. You can partition. You can make a motion to petition the land and force the sale of the home. But if your mother has a life estate in the house, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I would consult with an estate attorney and see what exactly your options are and what would be best for you to do under those circumstances.
Yeah, that's quite a pickle to find yourself in, I'm sure. So thank you for your call, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.
We have right now, I believe, Sherry on the phone. Sherry, what's your question?
Regarding Social Security law, I was deemed disabled in 2012, and at that time received SSI income as well as Medicaid. However, now I have aged and turned 62, and I have gone to retirement income. I'm not yet eligible for Medicare until the age of 65, yet I'm still considered disabled and have no health care.
Yes, that's a tough scenario, and I'm not certain you would qualify for Medicaid under those circumstances. And that's one of the arguments for Medicaid expansion is to cover people in that exact scenario. But yeah, from the date of disability onset, you have a 2-year wait for Medicare benefits. And then if you're taking early retirement at 62, so Social Security income is separate from Social Security retirement income is separate and apart from Social Security disability income, and it comes with its own set of rules that you have to follow and comply with. So it can be very complicated. There are some attorneys who specialize in SSD, SSI benefits, and you could consult with one and see if you have any options available to you. But my guess is that until your Medicare kicks in, Medicaid would be the only option aside from the Affordable Care Act.
And thank you for your call, Sherry. William, we thank you so much for joining us today for a law call on this Monday as well. If you didn't get your legal questions answered, you can always call our friends, including, of course, William, over at Timberlake and League.